They kicked me out of the house at just 12. I slept on the streets, starved, and cried alone, but years later, I returned in a limo, owning the very house they abandoned me in. Now I'm a millionaire, and they're begging at my door. Was only 12 years old when I heard the words that would haunt me for the rest of my life. You don't belong here anymore. My own father said that to me, eyes cold, his voice flat, like I was just some unwanted guest instead of his child. It was raining outside. I remember that clearly, the kind of cold, stinging rain that seeps into your bones. My small backpack, barely zipped, was filled with nothing but a few clothes and an old photo of my mum, the only person who ever truly loved me. She had died 2 years earlier, and since then, our house turned into a war zone. My dad remarried a woman named Carol, and from the day she stepped into our home, she made it her mission to erase every trace of my mother, including me. Carol hated me. She hated how I looked like my mom, how I spoke like her, how I reminded everyone of the woman my dad once loved. My dad didn't protect me. Instead, he shrunk under her presence. Over time, I became invisible. They stopped setting a plate for me at dinner. They forgot my birthday. They took my room and gave it to Carol's son, Trevor. He was a year older than me and treated me like a stray animal, laughing when I cried, breaking the few toys I had left, mocking me in front of his friends. I tried to be strong. I stayed quiet. I did chores. I got good grades. I kept my head down, but it was never enough. I was a ghost in my own home. And then one night, after Trevor accused me of stealing his stupid video game, something I didn't even touch, Carol slapped me across the face and told my dad, "It's him, or us." My dad didn't even blink. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Go. You've caused enough trouble." I didn't cry. Not then. Not in front of them. I walked out of the door with the rain pounding against my head, each drop feeling like a punch. I had nowhere to go, no one to call. I slept under a bridge that night, shivering, hugging my backpack like it could protect me. The next morning, I walked into the city with a blank face, empty stomach, and a fire in my chest that I didn't understand yet. But it was the start of everything. The pain, the betrayal, the rejection, it all planted something inside me. I didn't know it then, but that broken boy, he was about to rise. For the next few months, I existed more than I lived. Every day was a fight for food, for safety, for a reason to wake up the next morning. I slept in bus stations, behind dumpsters, under overpasses. I learned to stay awake during the night because that's when the streets were dangerous, filled with drunk strangers, angry addicts, or just people who enjoyed making others feel small. At 12, I became invisible to the world. People walked past me like I was part of the concrete, like I wasn't even human. I scavenged half-eaten burgers from trash cans behind diners and washed in gas station sinks. The cold wasn't just physical, it crept into my soul. But in those hopeless moments, something strange happened. I started watching, listening, learning. I'd linger near outdoor cafes where businessmen talked too loud. I'd eavesdrop outside co-working spaces or public libraries. I heard words like stocks, startups, Bitcoin, freelancing. I didn't understand them at first, but I remembered them. I started sneaking into the library when I could, using their free Wi-Fi, their old computers, their warmth. I'd sit for hours, devouring YouTube videos on finance, coding, entrepreneurship, anything that sounded like escape. I found a website that taught HTML and built my first webpage using their public system. It was trash, but it was mine. Then came my first real break. I met a guy named Marcus outside a tech building. He saw me scribbling code on a piece of cardboard. Instead of brushing me off, he crouched down and said, "You into programming?" That one question changed my life. Marcus was a junior developer, and for some reason, he saw something in me. He didn't pity me, he challenged me. He gave me a busted old laptop and said, "Fix it, learn from it, I'll test you in a month." I never slept so little in my life. I watched every tutorial, read every forum post, and failed 1,000 times before I succeeded once. But when that laptop finally booted and I launched a page I built from scratch, I felt like I had power, for the first time. And that's when the real grind began, freelancing on shady forums, coding logos, editing videos for pennies. I was making nothing, but it was something. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was beginning to fight back. And every small win, every line of code, every digital dollar, felt like a brick in the mansion of revenge I was silently building. By the time I was 15, I wasn't just surviving, I was building something, quietly in the shadows, while other teenagers were worrying about high school dances and homework. I was locked into a world of late-night code sprints, gig-to-gig hustling, and fighting algorithms for visibility. The laptop Marcus gave me had become my entire universe. I taught myself front-end design, SEO, video editing, content strategy, all of it. I took every $5 project I could get. But while I was growing online, my body was still malnourished, my clothes still ragged, and my eyes still hollow. No one knew who I was, and that was exactly what I wanted. One night while scrolling through a freelancing forum on a borrowed Wi-Fi signal, I stumbled onto a digital gold mine. I didn't fully understand it, but the concept was simple. Build a store, connect it to a supplier, sell products I never had to touch. I spent 3 straight days in the library researching Shopify, Alibaba, AliExpress, logistics, ad copy, and product trends. Then I built a store from scratch. The domain cost $2.99 with a student coupon I found. The rest was sweat and time. I launched my first store selling LED gaming lights. I marketed it with organic memes and TikTok posts. My first sale came 2 weeks later. $12 profit. It wasn't much, but I cried in the back of a gas station that night like I'd just won the lottery. But success doesn't come easy. Within months, the store blew up. I went from 1 sale a week to 50 a day. I was managing customer service, with fake names, replying to emails at 3 a.m., and watching YouTube videos about taxes, legal structures, and offshore accounts. I opened a PayPal and Stripe account under a fake identity because I wasn't old enough to own one legally. I was playing in a world where one mistake could wipe me out, but I didn't care. I had something to prove. I wasn't just chasing money, I was chasing revenge. And then I saw their faces again, my family. It happened when I was scrolling on Facebook. I hadn't looked them up in years, but curiosity got the better of me. There they were, Mum and Dad, all smiles in a family photo holding hands with my younger brother. The same brother who watched me get kicked out with a blank stare. Their captions read things like, "So proud of our family's success," and "We've overcome so much together." I stared at that screen for hours, my throat tight, my hands shaking. They were living like nothing ever happened, but I hadn't forgotten that. So I made a plan, not a childish screaming at the door kind of revenge, but the cold, calculated kind. The kind that makes people question everything. The kind that leaves no trace, just regret. I rebranded myself, built a new identity, new LLC, new accounts. I stopped doing freelance and went full CEO mode. My next store was in luxury home decor, then beauty, then pet accessories. I learned how to build teams, how to automate, how to make $1 turn into $100 with a single ad funnel. And with every success, I got closer to the dream. Until one day, my bank account flashed a number I'd only seen in movies. 7 digits. I was 17. A millionaire. But I didn't buy a mansion. I didn't party. I didn't tell the world. I kept quiet, because the final move was still ahead. The confrontation. And believe me, it was coming. I hadn't seen them in almost 6 years. Not a single word, not a birthday text, not even a "we hope you're okay." To them, I didn't exist. But to me, they were ghosts that lived in every dream I had. Ghosts I needed to face, not because I wanted closure, but because I wanted them to see me. Truly see what they threw away. The opportunity came on a random morning. I was scrolling through real estate listings, thinking about where I'd invest next, when I saw it, their house, the same one they kicked me out of. It was up for sale, and not just up for sale, was cheap. Foreclosure cheap. My heart nearly stopped. I called the agent anonymously, cash offered above asking. Closed within the week. I bought the house they kicked me out of. Every wall in that place held a memory, some painful, some numb. The corner where I used to hide after Dad's angry rants. The hallway where Mum once stepped over me, refusing to look. And now, it was mine. The key turned, and the door creaked open like it was welcoming me home after a war I never asked to fight. But I wasn't done. I waited another 2 months. I watched quietly from the shadows, tracked them online. I knew where they moved, an old rental in the next town over. They'd fallen hard. Dad had lost his job 2 years ago. Mum was working night shifts. And the golden child, my younger brother, dropped out of college, jobless, addicted to cheap thrills. I didn't feel joy watching it. I felt justice, so I mailed them an invitation. It was handwritten, elegant, formal, no name, just an address, a date, and a time. I rented out a luxury restaurant in the city, something ridiculous, with fountains and gold cutlery, and told them it was an anonymous inheritance meeting. Attendance required. I knew they'd come. Greed always listens, and they did. When they walked in, confused and dressed in their last good outfits, I stood up. Black suit, gold watch, .com face. Their eyes nearly fell out of their sockets. Dad froze like he'd seen a ghost. Mum gasped. My brother whispered, "No way." I smiled, "Hello, remember me?" They didn't speak at first, just stared. I gestured to the seats. "You wanted to know who invited you? It was me, the son you kicked out, the one you threw away like trash. I wanted you to see what happened when the garbage learned to build a kingdom." Mum started crying instantly. Crocodile or real, I couldn't tell. Dad clenched his fists, still too proud to break. "We were trying to teach you a lesson," he muttered. Double quotes, yeah. I said, "Well, here's mine. Never abandon someone who has nothing to lose, because they'll find everything." They tried to apologize, to explain. Suddenly they remembered all the reasons they had to do it. How hard life was. How I was difficult, how they thought I'd come back. "I begged you," I whispered. "I was 12, and you closed the door." Mum reached out. I didn't take her hand. Instead, I dropped a thick envelope on the table. Inside was a deed. To the house, their house, their house. My house now, I bought it. The one you kicked me out of. It's mine now. Everything in it is getting rebuilt without you. They were silent. You don't get forgiveness today. You don't get hugs or happy endings. You get the truth. And now you live with it. And I left. That was the last time I saw them. I thought walking out of that restaurant would feel like a movie ending. The villain defeated, the forgotten child rising above. But the truth, it was quiet. No applause, no tears of triumph, just me. In the back seat of my black car, staring at the city lights that once felt too far away for a boy sleeping in alleyways. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just sat there. Because revenge doesn't heal a wound. It only stops the bleeding. For years, I built my empire on silence and pain. I never asked for handouts. I didn't steal. I worked. I suffered. I learned. I survived. And I turned my pain into power. But now that I had everything, money, freedom, respect, I realized something else. No one ever teaches you what to do when you win. I moved back into the house, not to relive memories, but to reclaim them. I repainted the walls, knocked down the old door where they last slammed it in my face. I planted trees where I used to sit and cry alone. I turned that haunted house into a home for myself. Then I started something bigger. I opened a foundation. Kids like me, abandoned, broken, ignored. We gave them shelter, food, education. But more importantly, we gave them someone to believe in them when no one else would. I became the person I needed at 12, and one day, while I was helping a teenager register for classes, he looked up at me and asked, "Why do you care so much?" I smiled because someone didn't. I never spoke to my family again. They tried. Letters, calls, messages through old friends. But I never answered, not out of hate, but because I no longer needed their voices to validate my existence. I had found my own. One evening, I stood on the balcony of my new home, overlooking the city. Below me were the millions of lights that used to seem so unreachable. I held a cup of coffee in one hand and a childhood photo of me in the other. A tiny boy, in torn shoes, standing outside that house with eyes full of hope. I whispered to him, "You made it." And for the first time, I believed it.